This is HeKnowsFitness bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. Now let me get on to this video, man. See, I have to talk about this, man, because HeKnowsFitness, we keeps that same energy, dog. Let me say it again. We keeps that same energy. Even if it's a fighter we don't care too much for, we gonna give credit where credit is due. People sat here and acted like Vasiliy Lomachenko was ducking the super duper hype job variation. Let me say it again. People were sitting here acting like Vasiliy Lomachenko was ducking the super duper hype job variation. How can you duck a guy that told his dad, no more taller fighters? I'm gonna quit social media, man, because the pressure is too much. I have to always, lest y'all forget, lest I have to remind y'all asses. Let me say it again. Lest y'all forget, lest I have to remind y'all asses. I'm gonna always remind you guys about this super duper hype job. Anybody that gets on this stock of Teofimo Lopez will get knocked down to their truest and their most properest levels. This is a super duper hype job artist. Vasiliy Lomachenko is not afraid of this cat. He basically said it at the end of the fight. After I get past this speed bump. When you let Vasiliy Lomachenko, another fighter that looks like he comes out of a meatpack district, a la all of these fights that he's had, the Orlando Salido fight, the, you know what I'm saying, the Jorge Linares fight, you know what I'm saying, the Luke Campbell fight, dog, the Jose Pedraza fight. And in these 4 fights, this dude looked like he came out of a meatpack district. But if you let him, the meatpack district artist, the one they supposedly told you that was Neo, I don't see no Neo. Because if his ass was Neo, the Matrix wouldn't be as successful as it was. The purpose of being Neo is to not get hit. It's to basically make a Mr. Smith look like he can't fucking touch you. That's not what Lomachenko is. The only accurate title for Lomachenko is high tech. Now his boxing ability is high tech. To me, and I keeps that same energy, dog. Let me say it again. I keeps that same energy. Even if it's a fighter I don't care for. I can see Vasiliy Lomachenko will outbox the life out of a super duper hype job variation artist like a Teofimo Lopez. Because like I said yesterday, Teofimo Lopez can't box for shit. Let me say it again. Teofimo Lopez can't box for shit. I'm keeping the foot on the what? On the next. I'm keeping the foot on the what? On the next. This is what HeKnowsFitness does. When I keep my foot on literally on the neck and proverbially on the neck, it stays on the fucking neck. Let me say it again. When I keep the foot literally on the neck or proverbially on the neck, it stays on the damn neck until I decide to keep it off of the neck. All gas, no brakes, dog. Let me say it again. All gas, no brakes. Once a super duper hype job artist, always a super duper hype job artist. Vasiliy Lomachenko is going to expose him. He's going to stay away from the power. See, this is what people don't understand. Orlando Salido had power. But Orlando Salido was awkward. He was skillfully awkward. This is how he was able to expose the likes of a Vasiliy Lomachenko. Teofimo Lopez is not even that. He doesn't fight awkward. He's not even skillful in anything. He is what we call a roughshod or a rough shed gambler, man. He's flat-footed. There's nothing special about this guy, man. It's like Mayweather said when you think of Triple G. When I think of Teofimo Lopez, that's what he is, a small Triple G. No special effects up and down. Let me say it again. He is a small Triple G. No special effects up and down. He got power. But what is power if you don't know how to use it effectively? Woof. What I said was so deep and profound. Let me rewind that because that needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me and hear me. Wow. What is power if you don't know how to use it effectively? The truth of the fact of the matter is this. Vasiliy Lomachenko is going to give Teofimo Lopez a boxing lesson. Isn't it interesting that the fight is back on September of 2020? But who was the one that was pushing this narrative? Again, reverse bias, AK detractors, AK panders. Let me say it again. Who was pushing this narrative? Reverse bias, AK detractors, AK panders, that Vasiliy Lomachenko, because he went out into the abyss. He went and basically went into what we call a temporary sabbatical. He went away from civilization because we're dealing with a social distancing global pandemic. This is the problem with Rudy Poo and Plum Plum Brace. Classic dose and troglodytes. Ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. Even if it's a fighter I don't care too much for, I'm never going to speak against a fighter. See, this is what He Knows the Sport does. This is why people fucks with the authenticity and the consistency of a He Knows the Sport. This is why a He Knows the Sport is needed on the YouTube street. Because I keep it 100, dog. I call a spade a spade. I keep that thing real and I keep it a buck here. We're Mr. Authentic and Mr. Consistent here. Let me say it again. We're Mr. Authentic and Mr. Consistent here. Even if it's a fighter we don't care for, we don't talk shit about what the fighter has done. So because a fighter is basically following protocol of social distancing, he was in his own country, right? Somewhere in Russia. He can't come back into the States. He's supposedly a DuckTales, a woo, supposedly a DuckTales, a woo. There's a stranger out to find you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do is grab on you some DuckTales, woo. No, who created that bullshit narrative? It was the irritated, hot and bothered like grits Teofimo Lopez and all of his super duper hype job fanboys, because he's the super duper hype job artist, got behind that bullshit and said, oh, Teofimo Lopez is ducking. Now, Vasiliy Lomachenko is ducking Teofimo Lopez. Listen to the terminology. Does that even make sense, you Rudy Poo and you Plum Plum Brains? You classic goats and you troglodytes. You ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. Does it make sense for anybody to be ducking the super duper hype job? Everyone saw how he got exposed in the Masayoshi Nakatani fight. They were all looking at like he was fucking chopped liver, man. Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson. Go look at how they was laughing at his ass. Vasiliy Lomachenko. Even Ryan Garcia. Chopping at the bits to fight the super duper hype job artist. Because they saw how he is mentally weak. He lacks mental stamina. He doesn't have the mental wherewithal to be able to handle high pressurized and elite fights. He Knows the Sport was the standard bearer, the trendsetter to reveal this guy as such. And when I did that, his super duper hype job fanboys got hot and bothered like grits and want to basically have an aneurysm because He Knows the Sport told you guys the cold-hearted, the unadulterated, and cutthroat true-teller fashion. Lomachenko is not afraid of no damn Teofimo Lopez. He sees him as a fucking high-tech speed bump. He's going to outbox him. This is not going to be a Richard Comey fight where Richard Comey fell for the bullshit and tried to out-gamble a gambler. Let me guys tell you guys something about gambling. You're always going to lose against the house. Because you know what gambling is? It's gambling away yourself. Let me say it again, because what I said was so deep and profound. When you gamble away yourself. But when you have strategy and you have technique and you have a high-tech form of it and you can box and you're a boxing clinic artist. See, I can say what the fuck I want to say about Vasiliy Lomachenko. Notice I never disrespect his boxing ability. Yeah, he does look like he come out of Meatpack District, but there's a reason why Shakur Stevenson went and sparred with a Vasiliy Lomachenko. It's because Vasiliy Lomachenko actually has boxing skills. He has an accomplished amateur background pedigree. He's a pugilist. We don't fall for that bullshit of comparing him with the likes of a Floyd Money Mayweather. Now that's when they overrate his ass. And when they act like he doesn't have a loss and he hasn't come out of Meatpack District from the 4 fights that he did, and they act like he didn't lose to no damn flaming alcoholic Salido that had 12 fights at the end of that had 12 losses at the end of that fight, got into his taxi cab, went in there and beat the shit out of Vasiliy Lomachenko. We remind you motherfuckers of this shit. But Vasiliy Lomachenko is heads and shoulders above Teofimo Lopez. And anyone using the true boxing eye test knows this. You're talking about a high-tech pugilist versus a gambler. How do you guys think this fight is going to turn out? And you think Vasiliy Lomachenko has not fought in people before that doesn't have power? Nicholas Walters had fucking power to drop Vasiliy Lomachenko. Guillermo Rigondeaux had power to drop Vasiliy Lomachenko. Did he get knocked out in those fights? See, this is the stuff that we have to tell ourselves, man. So stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. Go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. The super duper hype job is what he is. And the problem is, his super duper hype job fanboys don't want to hear this shit. But He Knows the Sport is here in visceral form. It's like you're cutting visceral fat off of the damn body. Let me say it again. He Knows the Sport is here in visceral form. It's like cutting visceral fat off of the body to keep the foot on the what? On the necks. And keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. Come September 2020, when High Tech outbox and gives a boxing clinic to the super duper hype job artist, y'all gonna have to come back and put respect on He Knows the Sport's name. Now that's the cold-hearted, the unadulterated, and the cutthroat true teller fashion. This is He Knows the Sport. checking out.